first up here, review prior meeting minutes. Thank you. Up here for December 13th, 2021. First. Everyone have a minute to look those over. Questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. First made, second, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. Do we have the 21st?
March 21st. I'll second.
Motion made, second, any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those. That review project list. Good.
Trying to do was to match the project list in the categories that are gonna, for the survey. And so I was just in there updating it in, the pots. And then I met with Evan, talk about maybe updating some of these, like, construction improvement, updates to the school buildings. I don't have anything for the town. I think we should include the town because on our list, I have a lot of items for the town buildings. Then there was the mitigation for infrastructure. Like to kind of change that because we have a lot of economic development that the planning department has submitted, and I don't really think that it's captured in the survey.
The ARPA project is stuff on the screen. Okay. Okay, so your point was that there was nothing involved in the town side, and that there was a bunch of that were submitted by the planning department that aren't really captured in the survey.
Right, so what Mary's talking about is she created all these other columns, if you go and look around in here, which kind of put them in the catchment categories from the survey.
Right.
Also what we've already approved, whether it's included already in the CIPC plan, if there's another source of revenue that you could apply for, and whether it's COVID related or not, right?
Right.
I mean,
Evan.
yeah.
Oh, she said the link is expired.
Oh.
I had Nicole as a panelist this afternoon.
Okay.
It's in the email. If you click on ARPA project list, there's a Google Sheets that gets updated.
In the email, like.
You send it to me too. It's in my.
I know what I just resend it to the whole group. That way no one's singled out.
I'll do that.
So Mary, when you were trying to get these to shoehorn into kind of the categories for the survey, you had trouble getting them to line up?
Right, like where would I put all the planning? All of theirs.
It's because we don't have like a economic development catch-all.
No, I have mitigation for infrastructure improvement projects for small business assistance, but I don't really think that's the correct category.
Okay.
So are all of these things under planning, it references this local available to folks?
No, that's the plan that we use to create those projects.
Gotcha.
So we had, hello, Jennifer and Nicole.
Hi, sorry, we had a little trouble with the link, so we had to kind of go in manually. Sorry, we're a little bit late.
No problem. So we're discussing the list that you see on your screen now, and whether or not they fit into some of the survey catchment groups that were made in there. Right now we're discussing, you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff from planning, which it says see local recovery, rapid recovery plan.
Yep.
Or LRRP. So those are kind of economic development strategies for North Grafton that were mapped out in our LRRP. And so we're wondering if we would need maybe some kind of economic development part on our survey.
Yeah, we could add that. That's not an issue.
That's me saying that, not the group.
Oh.
Is that something that, because I think that's the only thing when we were looking at the submitted project list from department heads. And of course, there are going to be other stakeholders that give input, but we kind of want our survey to be able to reflect some of these things that were identified ahead of time.
That's cool. Show us the survey and then they can see the draft of the survey. Categories that I'm talking about.
Okay. So you want to, Peter, would you like to move on to the survey?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Respectfully through the chair. Can you, Nicole or Jennifer, are you able to the survey and kind of walk us through what you've got so far?
Yeah. I got it up. Nicole, you want me to just pop it up?
Sure.
Let me just see. Let me share screen. I think, yeah, you have to enable me to screen share. Sorry. That's okay.
It's only the 1,000th time I've done this.
I'm the same way. Okay, you can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just walk through and stop me. This is obviously just the intro. We talk about ARPA just very briefly, and then what you've already allocated money for. And then folks would click OK. I'm not going to do that because it's not, this is still in preview mode. So the first one is, are you a resident or business owner? or none of the above. And stop me if I go too fast, okay? Zip code, we had talked about that. Age demographics. And then this was the one we went through at your last meeting, I think, the 5 areas. You know, you asked people to pick kind of their top 5. So if this is the category, is this the category you're talking about, Mary, that you think we need to add?
Yes, this is how to get those buckets to, kind of align with our project list.
Okay.
Because if they answer these, and then like, how would we know? Like the mitigation for infrastructure improvement projects,
What you're planning applies to grant small business, non-for-profit assistance. So a lot of those, just thinking that first one in the upper left is kind of outlines a majority of what planning is looking for, but it doesn't go into specifics.
Right.
To Mary's point, I'm concerned that like, when you say mitigation for infrastructure improvement projects, which I know we took from another-
captured under that.
right? So do we need to create kind of a softer way to do that that says like, local economic development projects?
And then give a couple examples.
Right, instead of like parentheses, small businesses, do like, I don't know, pick a couple of identifiers off that list that would kind of get your brain to understand what we're talking about.
I think so. I mean, I think that, that particular category, when it was used in another community, was more for actual improvements to individual businesses. So that's a little bit different. I think we could definitely change that.
Talking about the second item.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right here.
Sure. I wouldn't know what that means.
We're making the survey, and I don't really know.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. We should definitely take that out.
To me, that was the biggest one that I saw in there. And then also, we wanted to keep improvement and updates to school buildings throughout Grafton. We'd also like one that talks about other municipal buildings. So either just school and municipal buildings. It gives us seniors last week, and their big conversation is about the parking lot at this building and accessibility and stuff. So, do we want to make that a more broad category? That's just one example. There's other things you could obviously do that with municipal buildings, but open that up a little bit.
So say that one more time, Evan.
So where it says construction improvements and updates for school buildings. So I think I would like to see either another bullet point that says improvements and updates for municipal buildings.
Okay, makes sense. Sorry, you cut out there for a second.
Talking about construction improvements and updates for municipal buildings.
Yep. Okay. And then, that piece where it says subject to limitations, we can take that out too. I should have realized that because that's for communities that are, over the 10 million. So we can take that out. It doesn't matter. You could put your whole thing in construction improvements and updates if we wanted to. So we'll just take that little note out.
Any other comments?
I mean, could you get rid of the, the infrastructure improvement, and public safety facilities and this, and the wastewater upgrades? It's just wastewater upgrades, stormwater enhancements, safety facilities. People are going to say that mean when it comes to a public safety facility, are they going to realize that on the lights? But what are other people going to take that to mean?
So get rid of the parentheses.
Yeah, get rid of the parentheses in those 3 lines.
Is the water main replacements, is that in a certain area or is that just?
It's just in general, it's basically like municipal water projects.
Is that internal or is that for infrastructure in the roads? Is that for internal?
Water main replacements
Yes.
would be either in the roads or connection from the street to
Meter
the
to the
house.
street, okay.
Yeah, like a lot of communities after Flint were doing, a lot of them had lead goosenecks that would come from the house to the main. And so they were having replacement projects, but I'm meeting with Matt from the water district next week, at the end of this week.
They should have received.
On here, like, was that on
I
our?
don't think they were.
so.
Yeah, but I don't think they qualified. Do you know, Jennifer and Nicole, or
Sorry.
did separate water districts receive their own ARPA allocation?
No, they
No.
did not. Nope. So the towns have to allocate it to them.
And that came up set like after we solicited input from folks.
Yeah. So water main replacements, you want to put like drinking water supply upgrades? Sure.
Say that one more time, Evan, instead of water main replacements?
So I can't hear anything.
Jennifer, can you hear us now?
Yeah, so we can only hear you, sorry. When anybody else talks, we can't hear.
That's how I program the owl.
Which is totally fine, but then you have to repeat everything everybody says.
Like the designated, I'm like the town crier.
Like,
we were talking
you're
about-
like crystal clear, honestly.
I'm used to using the owl. I project right at it. So water main replacements, can we make that more broad, like
Yeah,
drinking water? Well, do we want to limit it to mains or just drinking water
Replace.
upgrades,
Drinking water.
infrastructure upgrades?
drinking water infrastructure upgrades. Got it.
I had a great meeting the other day. I don't say it, but I was like. All right, does anybody have any other input into this list as it sits? School folks? Got anything for us? No?
The
Yeah.
mitigation for infrastructure improvement projects
Yeah.
to economic development.
Correct.
Did you get that, Jennifer?
Yeah, so local economic development projects. And did you say you want me to put examples there so people understand what it is? Like something in parentheses, maybe?
That'd be good. Like, instead of the in parentheses being like individual assistance,
Yep.
if we can go into our ARPA list and like little example projects that are kind of generic, right? So,
Yep.
local economic development projects would be,
Business recruitment, outdoor dining support program,
Perfect.
or Grafton Park study.
Okay, got it.
placemaking. I don't know, something, just pick one. Love me some placemaking.
Okay.
From the look of the room, I think we're good on that.
Okay. So next, people are asked what the level of impact is that they've had from COVID, from the pandemic. And then there's 5 options. And then if folks have had a negative impact, what type of assistance they need, and we ask them to pick 3, but we could certainly change that. That's just how one of the other communities chose to do it. And tell me if I need to stop. if you own a business, what has been the level of impact? So this is really, again, very similar to the previous question, what the impact's been. And again, if you had a negative impact, what assistance do you need? And then we asked whether they're a homeowner or renter or other, what their employment status is. And then there's really that kind of open-ended section here where people can put in a narrative in case there's something that's not listed. And we ask an employer question here in terms of staffing, if they've had trouble staffing their businesses. And then it's optional if they want to provide their name and email address. And that's it. We try to keep it short just because people hate doing them.
Right. Kimberly, did you have a question?
Yes, I wouldn't mind just reading this part first of all.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You're good, right there.
Yep.
I was dedicated 3.3 million to website enhancements.
Yeah,
I see how it goes on, but you might want to.
Yeah. To the following projects. I get it. Yeah. So maybe like to date, the town has dedicated 3.3 million to the following projects.
Yeah. Great website. Yeah.
Familiar with this. And then I just had another question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The level of business impact question. Our intent is that for businesses that are based in town or just
Yeah.
the level of my business wherever it may be?
No, so if they've checked on the previous question that says, are you a business owner, a resident and business owner in the town of Grafton, that'll flag us for,
Okay.
I deal with that.
And I think, that's a good point, though. I think in number 7, we could also say if you own a business in the town of Grafton. It's probably not a bad idea to add that.
Jennifer, can you scroll down just a tiny bit
Sure.
so I can see question 8? So it really doesn't make sense to choose up to 3
Yeah.
if there's only 3 right there.
So I think this used to have more options, and I think it didn't apply to Grafton. So yeah, I agree.
Right?
I mean, you could just say check all that apply, right?
Or that's even better.
Yeah, because there's not that much.
And I think there was another question. I think there was 2 questions that. And I don't.
Yeah, there's one right before this. Same thing for the impact on the household. We can just change that to check all that apply.
Will you scroll down one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have utility assistance in there twice. Oh, that's for business, never mind.
Yeah. But I agree. I think in both of those categories, it was a larger municipality that had a lot more options. And we could just say check all that apply.
Yeah. No, I think you've covered it as far as the survey goes. And unless anybody else has anything.
When folks are doing this online,
Online, I mean, I will say in other communities, we have done printed copies, especially for seniors. So we'll leave copies at the library, at the senior center. Some folks just don't, and then we just ask them to drop it off at town hall. But that's totally up to you. And then, we've entered them manually. So that way, when you get the results, you have it. Just some folks just don't have, I know like my mom would never be able to do this online, quite honestly.
That's our intent here too, was to get the printed ones at the library, the senior center. But I did talk, the library will help people.
Great.
Fill them out of the public computers, as will the senior center. So hopefully we don't have a ton of manuals, but we can certainly do that.
so on the computer, when you hit other, will there just be some?
Oh, I'm sorry, cut out.
So the question was, when you're on the other, you can just type in whatever you want, which is
Yep.
how we have it set up now.
Yep. Right here, this one. Yeah. No, we could also, Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, but we could do a QR code, right? Like we've done in other
Yes.
communities.
We could create a QR code. We could create, either if you wanted to put it out on something, you have a water bill or a tax bill for that QR code to go out. That's another way of getting it out. We've also, we walked in flyered communities as well.
I mean, the QR code is nice because folks will share it on social media and people can just do it on their phone in like 2-3 minutes, you know? So that's what I kind of like about the QR code, but it's totally up to you.
I think we should do it, judging by the nodding in the room, I think we're all on board with that.
Okay.
QR code.
It's tough. I mean, it's.
That's William to help me with that.
So we finalized the survey questions. Survey with questions. Is there any finalized survey and community outreach timeline? Or
Yeah, so Jennifer, are we still on track for the timeline we discussed last time with the outreach meetings and the?
Yeah, so we talked about doing one in May. Is that what we talked about?
Yeah, May 4th.
May 4th.
can't do it May 4th.
We can't do it May 4th.
Sorry.
What is
Oh,
that?
we could, it's all right. I think that was tentative, right?
Yeah, so we'll have to we're gonna have to fine tune the dates a little bit. Because the outreach on May 4th, we now have to do fire chief.
We could
Final
shoot for
interviews.
May 11th.
It's fine. You just let us know. I mean, it's nice to do it while the survey's still open, I think. Right? Is that what we talked about? Is that to solicit more people to enter information in the survey? Or do you want the survey completed and then have that as the public? You know, you could do it both ways. So we do some public meetings that talk about ARPA, and then we really push the survey. And then we do some public meetings after the survey is finished. Some people like to do it that way to talk
Right.
about what projects were kind of suggested. So we can do it either way.
Could we look to do the first one on May 11th?
Yeah.
Okay for everybody? Anybody have any strong objection to May 11th?
So that'll be good. I mean, we can keep the survey open past that date. I mean, want to keep the survey open for a month, I would think anyway. And that meeting will, usually those meetings will generate more people to do the surveys, which is good.
Okay,
So May 11th you're gonna do it in person, right?
yeah, please.
Okay. At Town Hall? you think?
1 second.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Can you hear me? All right. We might want to change the time. If it's going to be a baseball game at 5:45 anyway, so I won't be there. But if we do it, I recommend we do it a bit later in the day so people can attend.
6 o'clock, 7 o'clock,
6:30, 7-ish, yeah.
7. So we're thinking May 11th at 7 PM.
Okay. Did you say at Town Hall? Is that where you do it?
Logistics of what room and everything, depending on what else is
Yeah.
happening. Yeah,
Oh, right.
well, we could also look at doing the library, but we'll get back to you on the location.
Okay,
I don't have access to that building schedule.
Yeah.
no big deal.
Well, an outreach meeting is just, again, it's outreach. It's us talking to the members of the community about what this is, educating them, getting soliciting feedback. I mean, unless you want to have a hearing, you know, and have people come up and you guys would like to see.
Well, I think, I like recording it because we can go back to it and
Right.
get
People can see
information.
what was discussed.
So-
you know.
I think Bob DeToma this week is meeting at the library to do a dry run of broadcasting and recording out of the library and into GCTV. So we may, it's open at the 11th and we can go there and get it recorded there, then I think that might be the It might be cool to do it in a different location,
I get more people to come.
like it.
So we got May 11th, 7 PM, potentially library, tape it. All right. Anything else? Does anyone know anything else? Any questions? Motion to adjourn. Have a great night. Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks, Nicole. Have a great night.